Hi, everyone. Welcome to Iggy's Toy Parade and Soldier Review. This is your host, Iggy. Yay! Well, guys, we're going to change the tempo here a little bit and take you back to the past, to the days of yesteryear, and take a look at these Western items. These were collected by my brother and given to me for Christmas. Now, I should say they were in my storage space. And what my brother would do is he would go in there and he would find different things and make a play set. And he found this illustration online, and he knows that I love these kinds of illustrations from toys. And this is the Lone Ranger Rodeo playset by Markz. So he printed that out and put it on the cover of the box, and then he put all these things that you see in there. Now, there was some storage damage, of course, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. I didn't take these out of the package because I thought they probably would do better in storage if I left them in there, but I did take out enough so you can get an idea about these figures. I like them. They're pretty cool, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. So up here we have a Sherry Leah Cowboy. Unfortunately, those did not do well in storage for me. Most of them are broken. The plastic got very brittle, and legs would snap off, the tail. In this case, his hand broke, so the rope doesn't stay in his hand very well. I had a number of those, but, well, for instance, let's show you this. This is a Sherry Leah horse, and you can see that his tail busted off, and his leg is gone. And there's supposed to be a peg on his back here. You can see where it used to be. And it would hold the saddle. And here's the figure. And I think his hand is broken because he won't hold the rifle. Every time I put the rifle in, it falls out. So I gave up. So I have the base for this someplace. But he's beat up pretty bad, I'm afraid. Okay, this is an MPC Wagon, and at the time I bought these on eBay, I had quite a number of them. There was 2 Buckboards and a couple of stage coaches. The stage coaches I did not like at all, but the Buckboards are pretty cool. And what I like best is I have the driver. A lot of the wagons I have no driver, but coincidentally, all 3 of the wagons I'm showing you here have a driver. So that's kind of unusual as far as my collection goes anyway. This wagon here is busted up pretty bad. It's a Hong Kong ripoff. It's very similar to a Tempo wagon, but it's much smaller. The figure is also Tempo-like. And I wonder if this Tempo was made to go with these figures, because these are also Hong Kong figures, and they don't have a maker stamp on them. So what's broken about it? Well, I'll show you in just a second, but I will talk about this a little bit. This used to have a yellow tarp, bright yellow tarp, and I think the wagon body was red, maybe? I don't recall. But I painted the tarp this... I wonder if you can see it inside. I tried to paint the inside, but I don't know if I succeeded. And I painted the bottom of the wagon in this gray color so that it would match more closely to a Markz Wagon. And of course, I mentioned it comes with a tempo-like wagon driver with one of the longest whips I've ever seen. I would be afraid to use that. You know, you whip it forward and then it comes back and it hits you in the face. This is a Markz copy. I think it's been painted. Yes, this was painted. Yeah, you can see it's all chipping there. What color was it originally? It's not marked, so it's definitely a repro figure. And I don't know if the tip of his barrel is broken off or if he's holding a Winchester, which wouldn't fit with the time period of his costume. So I'm guessing the end of his, I don't know, is he? It keeps blurring out on me. See that? So maybe the end of his rifle broke off. I don't want to spend too much time with that. Okay, you can see that the horses are very much like a tempo wagon. And this is a Markz teepee copy. And all the lodge poles broke off while in storage. And there's still two of them or three of them hanging over the edge there. And what I thought I would do to repair this teepee is I have it glued together because the Markz teepees didn't fit together very well. So what I thought I would do is open it up, get some toothpicks, cut off the tips, and then glue the toothpicks along the edges of each of these ridges. And then put the teepee back together and paint the toothpicks to match the teepee. And I think that would be a satisfactory solution to having the lodge poles missing. Here's a bunch of wagons, or excuse me, some horses that my brother had in the box. They appear to be tempo or tempo ripoff. This one is kind of fun. It's of, it looks like Dale Evans. And the figure comes complete with a saddle and everything. So that's very fun. I think I mentioned already that I met Dale Evans, and when my mom brought me over to meet her, I blurted out, "I like Roy better." And my mom was horrified. But I used to say a lot of weird stuff. I wonder if I had Tourette's or something. But I guess if you have Tourette's, it's like a permanent thing. So hopefully that's not the case. Although I do say some inappropriate things that gets me into troubles. Okay, here's another Buckboard by MPC. And of course, I mentioned that I really like the fact that the rider is there. And this is a Leah Cowboy. He was supposed to go on this horse that got all busted up. So I'm guessing I'll probably throw this out and keep the bridle and the saddle. But they're a temple-like figure, but what I don't like about them is the fact that the plastic is so brittle that you can't really do anything with them without busting something off of them. I've showed you some of these kinds of figures when I showed you my Western lunch boxes, and as I was picking up the figure to show you something, it broke in my hand. So they're very fragile and brittle. Now these figures are very temple-like, but in some ways I like them much better. The only thing I don't like is the ivory color of their skin. I prefer the peach color. but the colors of their clothing is very good. And I got these cowboys and I got some Indians. I got like 60 figures altogether, and it was like dirt cheap. I bought them from a guy in Italy. And so these came a long ways to get to me. And I'm very fond of them. When I first got them, I didn't like them. And now that I look at them years later, I'm going, these aren't bad at all. I like the colors. They're very temple-like, of course. But they have a lot of detail. They got the scarves, and they've got holsters and pistols and everything. This guy's been shot with an arrow. This guy is tied up for some reason. I guess he's a bank robber that's been captured. Or he's at ease. I don't know. I can't do what this guy's doing with his hands behind his back like that. I have 2 frozen shoulders. And if I put my arms back like that, it is very painful. All right, guys, these are the figures I didn't take out because I thought they would do better in storage if I did not take them out of their bags. Some of these you can see the hats are off of them. Once the hat pops off, it doesn't go back on. You can see the hat over here fell off, and this guy's hat is back here. So what I'm going to do with those is super glue them back onto their heads, and I hope that should serve the purpose of keeping me from losing them. So it was really fun that my brother put I know it was things that I already owned, but it was fun to get all these things because when I moved here, I couldn't afford a moving truck. So all my things went into storage in California, and they were there for how many years? 8 years. My sister's husband went out with a truck and trailer and brought most of my things, although there was quite a bit still out there. And so then my brother Robert, not the artist one, but my brother Robert went out there and brought a whole bunch back. And but before he did that, Ron used to make these play sets for me. I think I showed you one that had, he called it Tiger Tank, and he made the vintage looking label for that one. And like I mentioned before, I really love this kind of artwork for toys. I always thought those illustrations were fun. All right, guys, I was reading your stories from some of your comments, and I really enjoy that. And a lot of it seems very familiar to me. It's almost as if you and I had the similar experiences as children. I wonder how many kids would enjoy this today. I should ask my coworker Jack if he would watch this. He might like this because I mentioned that he really likes westerns. But most kids today, they're going to look at this and go, "Where's the trash can? Is it worth anything? Because if it isn't, I need to throw it out." Oh well. Uh, One person wrote me a comment about, you know, people passing away and their surviving spouse sells everything in the garage sale for $1 or whatnot. Means nothing to them. And I was thinking, isn't it interesting that our love, our passions, our interests, everything about us dies with us. And I noticed when I go by cemeteries, you'll notice that there's no living person walking around. So none of those graves are being visited. In fact, where I used to live, there's a town called Ventura, and they had a park that used to be a cemetery. And they put it in the paper, the city put it in the paper, uh, do you have a relative buried here? And do you visit their grave? And if you responded, then they would not take away your grave marker. But if they were people that nobody cared about, they took all the grave markers and dumped them, and all the tombstones and statuary that were in the graveyard got thrown in the river to shore up the bank of the river. And now it's just like a park, although there's still a few markers, but those are markers that had been claimed. But I kind of thought it was creepy if you had a picnic and right below you is the remains of someone who lived 100 years ago. I wonder how often stuff like that happens. Anyway, I hope you're proud of me that I didn't use this sort of cowboy voice, because that kind of irritated everyone. So I'm sorry for that. Where do you guys want to go today? Let's see. Last time I think we went to see the USS Alabama. So, I think I would like to see a museum in Normandy, if there is one, or just tour Normandy. My brother Robert did that with his stepbrother. How do I just explain this? His wife's sister's husband. How's that? And they went to Normandy together and explored, and he thought that was really fascinating. And I would like to do that someday. So why don't we all do that? We'll meet on the shores of Normandy. Hopefully none of us step on a landmine. When my brother was in the army back in the 60s, my brother Robert, he was in Germany, and almost every month they would read a story about a farmer in Belgium or northern France that would hit a shell and it would explode. So even after how many years between World War I and the 60s, so it's probably like 40 or 50 years, and the shell exploded and killed the farmer. And it's like, wow, it's amazing that the legacy of that war would live on like that in such a gruesome manner, even. Whereas all the other scars of battle are starting to fade away, like where the entrenchments and craters were. I was at the crater in Petersburg, and it's almost filled in. As the years go by, the walls of the crater cave in and more dirt gets piled in, and before you know it, there's no evidence of what happened. Okay, guys, that's it for me. I hope all of you have a good evening, and I'll try and post some more videos. The reason I'm rushing is because I can't use my kitchen. I'm going to turn around and show you. Look at this mess. It's just terrible. But I've been pulling things out of these boxes and filming them. I was kind of hoping that one of these had the Civil War soldiers I'm missing, but I'm afraid none of them did. Anyway, as you know, I'm in the Cowboy kitchen. All right, guys, bye. Adios, hombres. I'll see you Desperados next time.